Howdy folks, welcome back to another CS128-Honors lesson. Today we're going to be discussing final project information and what that means for the rest of the course. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. So this past Monday, final projects have officially begun. While that doesn't necessarily mean a lot to you, what this means is that the lecture content has changed. Rather than having 2 lectures per week, we're going to have 1 lecture per week, and the content of each of these lectures will be a little bit more open-ended. So obviously this lecture is more focused on final project information. It's going to be a relatively short lecture, I imagine no more than 10 minutes. But future lectures will cover a whole range of things, whether it be how to get an internship. We'll have maybe some guest speakers from some companies. Potentially, if we see that there's a lot of groups working on web development or machine learning or whatnot in Rust, then we'll add a lecture that does that. Other than that, we also call sort of mini projects, which is extremely code heavy projects where we sort of at the beginning of the lecture start with nothing and then build up to a small mini project that's fully working. So lots of sort of fun, cool ideas there that you'll see over the next couple weeks. Of course, if you'd like to see any topic be covered, I encourage you to reach out on the Discord, and chances are we'll probably cover it. So I'm looking forward for the group projects for you. You have 2 major deadlines coming up. The first one is the group submission form. Groups are 2 to 3 people. If you want to work solo or in a group of 4, that's definitely possible. You just have to reach out to me and receive approval for that. Email or Discord is totally fine. But this upcoming Monday, make sure that you submit this group submission form. This is pretty straightforward. Just list the net IDs of the people in your group. If you have a group name that you'd like, then you can add that there too and refer to your group as that. Make sure it's appropriate and whatnot, of course. And then if you already know what project you'll be working on, great. But that's totally fine if you don't, because the idea form, which is where you'll cover what you actually would like to work on, is not due until this upcoming Friday, or the Friday after that. In this project idea submission form, what you'll do here is you'll input the project's GitHub page. And this GitHub page will be the main way that we expect you to collaborate with your team. Obviously, people all around the world use GitHub every day, and we'd like you all to be comfortable with it too. Earlier in the semester, I think near the beginning, we did release some GitHub lectures actually in your main CS128 course. So I encourage you to maybe go back up to those and review if you do need a refresher. Okay, so once the group idea form is due, then you have about 2 weeks before checkpoint 1. The checkpoints are spaced about 2 weeks apart from one another. They're just about, short meetings with some staff member. We'll finalize the logistics for this in just a bit, but basically, as long as you do your checkpoint anytime before this date or on this date, then you'll receive credit for checkpoint 1. And just for us to make sure that you're making some sort of progress, that you're not running into any issues. And if you are running into any issues, we're more than happy to help you solve them either at that time or provide you with advice to help you solve it later. So definitely make sure you're getting checkpoints in. It's A, part of your grading, and B, just going to be a useful tool to help you solve any larger issues. Okay. Once again, we encourage you to use Rust crates as much as you would like. If you want to go, without using any Rust crates, that's completely fine. If you want to use a ton of Rust crates that do a ton of things and make your project very largely scoped, that's fine too. At the end of the day, it's just able to sort of simplify a lot of processes. We saw in one of my parallelism lectures that we used this sort of thread pool crate, and that made, scheduling tasks on multiple threads actually extremely easy. As simple as sort of calling that for loop. I encourage you to use packages. There's a ton of super awesome ones, regardless of what you're doing, and it can make your life really easy. Okay, some other notes with the GitHub. This README is due 11.5, so when your project idea is due, this is what we require to see in the README: group name, net IDs, introduction, overview of what it's going to look like, any challenges you might run into, and any references you're using. This shouldn't be too long. This is like a paragraph. This might be, 2 or 3 paragraphs. Challenges is, maybe a couple sentences. So yeah, this should be pretty straightforward. We just want to make sure that, you have the README set up and you understand what you are going to be working on. This run.md, which is going to describe how we're going to run your project, will be due at the end of the semester. So when your final projects are due, this just walks us through how we actually run your project. Of course, we're going to be, sort of demoing all these projects. You are going to get points for the functionality of your code, so make sure it does work and make sure your run.md is correct. Speaking on checkpoints, we are going to have 2 checkpoints. We're expecting you to, make some amount of progress between checkpoints, but more so the project or the checkpoints are just an opportunity for you to solve any issues, for you to update us, for us to provide you with feedback or advice. We encourage you to plan them at any point between any point before the checkpoint due date. We'll probably email group by group, so we'll send out an email. We'll assign each group to 1 staff member, and that staff member will email the group, so keep an eye out for those. I'm leaving it up to each staff member to worry about the logistics of planning those, because everyone's got different schedules and whatnot. So just keep an eye out for that. When you do submit your final project, there's 2 major parts. First, the GitHub, making sure your README and your run.md are correct, up to date, and your code works and is, clean and readable and all that. And then second, the video, just a short 5 to 8 minute video discussing what your project is. All group members must participate in the video, and we're also considering the idea of having some option of doing synchronous presentations if people are interested. We're not quite sure if people would be interested, but we think it would be fun to sort of present to some other people as well, just because that's kind of the nature of what similar courses have done in the past. So if you are interested in that, definitely let us know, and we'll explore that a little bit more seriously. If you're fine with just doing the video, then we'll always leave that open as an option, of course, for students who may be online. The final project is worth a significant part of your final grade, 55%. So make sure you're focusing on this. But we are giving 20% sort of extra credit, or opportunity for extra credit. So, there's a lot of chances to get extra credit in this course. This is definitely one of them. This is sort of how the grade breakdown is split up. 10% for the group submission form, 10% for the group idea form, 10% for each checkpoint, 20% for functionality, style, and difficulty, 10% for presentation, and then 10% for peer evaluation. Obviously, we want you all to succeed as well as possible, so, we're not looking to give anyone zeros on this final project. As long as you're, making progress in the checkpoints and writing code and you're happy with what you did at the end, you should be totally fine. There's really no precedent for sort of how complex or how large scale a project needs to be. And, if we do think that your project is sort of too simple, then we'll make sure to mention it in the checkpoints, or honestly too complex either. We'll make sure to mention it in the checkpoints to try to steer you in the correct direction as early as possible. But yeah, that's pretty much all the information that we have about the final projects. My last request to you all is to fill out the feedback form. So this feedback form has been a wonderful tool for us to get a ton of feedback. We're almost at 2/3 of the class filling out the form, so we just need a couple more people to fill out this form, and we can provide you all with extra credit, which obviously is nice. And then finally, if you are still looking for groups, we've created this team building channel. I see some people have chatted in here already, which is great to see. But, send a message to someone, have fun. That's pretty much it. Have a great rest of your week. And if you have any questions, let us know. Bye-bye.